Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. Today's topic is excellence. Welcome to the Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can sparkle just a little bit brighter each and every day. If what you hear speaks to your soul, go ahead and give us a rating and a review in iTunes. You can also find us on SoundCloud and Stitcher. And hey, if there's somebody in your life that you think would enjoy this podcast, go ahead and share it with them. Well, hey, Nick, what's going on there?
Big week this week.
Yeah? What's up?
We are doing I'm doing a 30-day challenge with our mastermind. And I'm super excited, and I'm a little worried, like it's daunting. Like I set the bar high for myself.
Non-existent future.
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit. But I'll own it.
So for those people wondering, like, what's our mastermind? You know, a mastermind is a group of individuals that come together like-minded. And our mastermind is called the Illumination Mastermind, where we have the most amazing clients and students who are focusing on their businesses and doing so by aligning really their soul mission and soul purpose.
Yeah.
So the challenge you have coming is interesting, given that we're very much about the energy and the frequency and the soul purpose and building business. This challenge is about working out.
It's a physical challenge. Yeah. It's been something that I just have found to be so important in my own life of keeping in good shape, just energetically, my body's stronger. My container is, more resilient. And I find that I have, the energy that I really need. And it's easier, like the resiliency piece is just, it's easier for me to, to get back into the flow if I happen to get out or something like that. So it's been something that I've been kind of working on for the past several months now of just trying to be more and more consistent with it. Cause I've never been super, super consistent with my physical workouts, even as a yoga teacher. Like I would practice a lot of yoga, but I wasn't like super consistent with it, So it's really done a lot of amazing things for me in my life. And when I put it out there, because I was just having fun with it. And I was like, well, it'd probably be really fun to do this with more people. So why don't we do like a little challenge? And so I put it out to the group, and, a bunch of people wrote right back and were like, yeah, I'm in. I totally want to do this. This seems like fun. Or this is exactly what I need. One of our members is even, her husband's like, yeah, I want to do that too, So we've got like other people coming into it. And I think it's going to be really fun. So
what are the requirements for the challenge?
Well, we kept it loose. Because I feel I'm a strong believer that do your own thing, right? So what's intense for me or what's challenging for me might be really different from what's intense or challenging for you. And you decide like what is going to be, the right kind of physical activity for you,
Right.
I do this kind of weight workout. It's like a dumbbell workout called like Spartacus. I don't know, somebody sent it to me. Toby sent it to me. And it was great. Like, it's cool. Like, it's right up my alley. It takes like 35 minutes. So when I do some stretching before that, it's like a 45-minute workout. And it's pretty intense. Like, it's cardio, but it's got some weights, So it's not for everybody. Like, I'm not saying everybody go do that.
So, but do people have to work out every single day for 30 days?
Oh, good question. No.
Okay.
They can if they want.
But the minimum is
5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Yeah, I'm doing 6.
Okay.
I like the day of rest, feels good for my body.
Okay.
So everybody's committing to 5 days a week, whatever kind of physical activity they want.
5 days a week or more.
Some people are doing yoga, hot yoga. Some people are like, I'm going to go for a hike this day, like whatever. But the really important piece is that they set their intention at the beginning of the week. Here's what I'm going to do.
I see.
Right? And then go do it.
Yes.
So that's pretty much it. And if you miss a day, then you donate to a foundation.
How much do they donate?
$20 a day.
This is awesome. So basically it's a 30-day challenge. The weeks are mapped out. These are the days I'm working out. If someone misses the day they say they're going to work out, they donate $20 to a selected organization.
Exactly. Create a Bright Life is one of them. Okay. I can't remember the name of the other one. It was recommended by one of the members. Women. Okay. It's a foundation for women. Yeah, because, and no makeup days.
No makeup
So
days. So if they miss it, they miss it.
You miss it, you miss it. You know, I didn't want to get into that whole mess of like, oh, I was supposed to do it this day and now I'm supposed to do it that day. And then like, should I donate or do I not? No, you set your intention, you do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then pay up.
Pay up.
You know?
Okay.
So there it is.
So this might sound attractive to some of our listeners. What if they want to join us along with the Train of Truth coming by?
Well, by the time this episode comes out, we'll be 6 days in. So it's because it starts tomorrow. And this episode will get released a week from today.
Okay.
So that'll be day 6, which is totally cool. No big deal.
Hop on the train.
Well, all you have to do is just join on in. You heard the rules right there. It's super. We want to keep it real simple. You set your intention for the week. I'm going to work out this day and this day and this day. Here's what I'm going to do, and go do it. And if you don't, I'll put a link with this podcast to the foundations. And then what you do is when you do it, immediately before or immediately after, you take maybe a screenshot of your phone with a date and time on it, and then post that on your Facebook wall.
Okay. Or a picture of their sweaty self with a date and time.
Yeah, that'd be fine too. Yeah,
Maybe
whatever.
even a video, a few words of inspiration.
If you're into that, that'd be great. I just wanted to keep it simple. So it's like snap that little screenshot and post it right up there. And then you hashtag IMM30.
IMM30.
Yeah.
And they should tag you.
And then you tag me.
Nick Hansinger. So look up Nick on Facebook. Hey, if you want more information, info, just email us, info@sourcemovement.com, and we'll get you rolling if you want to join the challenge. And hey, if you start 6-7 days late, you know that you can add that week on at the end.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen with this. What I can say is that the last time that we did a challenge like this was when we had the yoga studio.
Yeah, that was fun.
And it was super fun. It wasn't even we did do 30-day challenges there.
We did.
But then we did the boot camp.
Yeah.
And it was it just added this whole dynamic of synergy in the whole community. It was just super fun for everybody.
Let's do it.
And now we're doing it virtually. And
Yeah.
I just think that's really cool.
That is really cool. And then you'll tag Nick on Facebook, and then he'll give you a good shout out. And it'll be really fun.
Yeah. So
cool. Just shoot us an email, everyone, info@sourcemovement.com. And this leads to...
If you have questions, before we get into that, if you have questions, info@sourcemovement, but it's super simple. Set your commitment. You don't have to do the whole month. Just do a week. Before or after your workout, snap a photo, date and time, hashtag IMM30, and then tag me in the photo.
Nick Hansinger. But the challenge is 30 days.
It's a 30-day challenge.
But you're saying the map out is a week. Their intentions.
Map out a week in advance.
At a time.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Because my weeks change.
Right.
And if I've got for me anyway, I want to make it flexible. If I've got, something that's going on and I know I'm going to, I can just use that as my day off.
Got it. Cool.
So
way to go.
That's the deal. Yeah. But it brings us into this, this conversation of excellence, because to me, one of the biggest takeaways I've got from this is the commitment to excellence, and just one ridiculously simple area, which is say I'm going to work out and work out.
But why do sometimes we make that not so simple? Why do some people okay, I'm going to work out, and then it's just dragging themselves out of bed, and there's some drama or there's some trauma, or I don't feel why do we do that?
Well, for all sorts of reasons, I think. First one is just, if you've not been as active as you could be, or I'm going to use the word should be, then it's going to not feel good when you start. It just doesn't feel good. Your body's probably going to hurt a little bit until you really get into the groove. It might do some funny things with your energy right off the bat. Not everybody gets that immediate boost and just starts to feel awesome. Sometimes there's a few days or even a week of kind of ups and downs and some crashes at weird times because your body's adjusting.
Right.
So that's one reason, is it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, playing the trumpet. When I get out of shape, getting back in shape is really painful.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing because it's muscular.
Same with playing the flute, right?
Yeah, it's painful. Not only does it hurt your ears because you're oh, I can't believe I sound like that.
So it's a little bit like what's poison in the beginning is nectar in the end.
Yeah. Chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Yeah. What is poison in the beginning is nectar in the end, was nectar in the beginning is poison in the end.
That chocolate bar that tastes so good at the beginning pulls you down at the end.
They're talking about this thousands of years ago.
Thousands of years ago.
It's not a new conversation.
Same conversation.
But where people, I don't want to get too off on this, but where people, I think, take that the wrong way is then it's like, I'm just going to do whatever sucks for me because it's going to be awesome in the end. And that's not it either. Like it's about using your intellect to make a wise choice about the correct action, just fully recognizing that when you do something new or you do something that you know is good for you in the long run, it may not feel good or be in accordance to your preferences at the beginning, which is super common, right?
Right.
If you've been eating nothing but like totally addictive junk food, which is like literally addictive, and then you go to break that addiction and get on a healthy diet, that's probably...
It's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, at the beginning. But then before you know it, when you go to taste the junk food, it tastes like poison.
Right.
Like,
and you feel so good. Your body feels so good. So that is a standard of excellence.
That is, meticulous in your eating.
Meticulous in your eating. And
this is just one for me, like physical activity has been one for me that has been really important. So, I'm not, you can do this in any area and we'll talk more about that. But for like the challenge, especially, was just about being physical and then all the things that I learned and gained through that, which was super powerful in my life. It was looking at my mind. So that's one thing is it sucks in the beginning. I think another one is just the drama we play because
the drama in the mind.
To.
Yeah.
And you go into the non-existent future. I talked about this, I think, a few episodes ago, where it was with surfing, where I would, because I like to surf, right? But surfing's like different than anything. It's just like a different kind of exertion, you know? So even if I'm in really good cardio shape, when I get out there and start paddling, I fatigue in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's like surprising to me still. But that's like, if you want to get good at paddling a surfboard, you need to paddle a surfboard. Like that's important, So I would get into this drama of, like if I work out I might go surfing, but I'm not sure, if I'm going to have time or if the surf is going to be good this afternoon. And so, but if I work out, then I might be tired. And then, it's like, so I'm in this whole conversation in my head of like, should I work out or should I not?
I want to go surfing. Non-existent future, anxiety, worry. Oh, it just sucks.
Right. And then if I don't go surfing, then I should make up my workout later in the day. And so I just got tired of my own head and I just put the kibosh on it. I just stopped it. Like, I was like, you know what? You're working out every morning, no matter what. And then if you go surfing after that, awesome. And if you don't, awesome. No problem. Problem solved. And you know what? Frickin' problem solved.
Problem solved, everyone. So new level of excellence for Nick here. So let's get to the core of this topic because excellence is such a cool word. When you look at it, like it's sparkly, it's shiny. It's like it just holds this presence of being extremely good at something.
Yeah. It's something that can really be powerful in every area of your life.
Well, and ideally, how would our lives be if we were excellent at living our life? Like how many people are excellent at living their life?
That's a great question.
Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty much being sovereign, self-sufficient, not entangled, not attached, not in the non-existent future, not in the past, just present.
Really present, yeah. And joyful.
Present to the present moment and joyful. What happens when someone, I mean, we've heard this, like, as you do one thing, you do everything. So to be excellent in everything will create, I hesitate to use the word standard, but just, I would say it's building a muscle, right? So if we're excellent at cooking a meal, at cleaning up the kitchen, at getting up in the morning and working out or studying, whatever, it's building a muscle of sticking to what we say we're going to do.
That is exactly it. That's discipline.
It's a discipline.
It's pure discipline.
It really is.
And that's just control. Honestly, like, I don't mean to even oversimplify this one, but to me, that's just controlling your mind. because your mind will come up with a million different excuses as to why it shouldn't, or why it should do something different instead, or whatever the mind wants. And when you've already made the decision and then you don't follow through on it, it's not only that you don't make the progress that you wanted, it has a negative effect of eroding your self-confidence.
Right. And it might be very subtle. And this is important for our listeners to understand. Like sometimes we'll use this phrase inner integrity or energetic integrity. And this isn't good, bad, right, or wrong. It just means when we're going against what we say we're going to do, there is deep within this like, oh, crap, I didn't do that. And as you said, the self-confidence erodes. And then energetically, internally, we're in conflict a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if we do that again and again and again, you can see how it would layer up. And then before a human knows it, they're feeling kind of crappy about themselves, but they're not really sure why.
Yeah, well, think about it. You can be excellent at getting out of bed.
You can be excellent at getting out of bed at a certain time.
That might sound totally absurd, but think about it. Yeah. Like how messy that process gets when your mind takes over.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to hit the snooze. Oh, I got to go to work. Oh my God, I hate my job. Oh, the baby's crying, the dog's barking. I got to walk the dog. There's a whole list where instead of like, I am going to rock this day. It's going to be awesome.
Right.
Just hop on out of bed.
Or even if you're not feeling that way right off the bat, get your ass out of bed.
Yeah.
Because you already decided, think about it. Like, let's break down the process for a second. You already decided the night before, I'm going to get up this time because you set your alarm.
Right.
And then when it goes off and you're like, nah, you hit the snooze.
Yeah.
And then immediately you broke an agreement.
You broke an agreement with yourself.
Yeah. And that's the worst.
Yeah.
So that's where it erodes self-trust and it erodes self-confidence. So as absurdly simple as that may sound, if you are excellent at getting out of bed, that will improve every other area of your life.
Absolutely. I totally believe that.
And that, when I go through this, when I think about like improving in every area, there's a lot of times where I choose something that I'm going to work on. Communication, we talked about in another episode too. This one was with my commitment to physical activity. At a point in time, I was there.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to be awesome at getting out of bed. And I felt, like at first I just felt like, dude, really? Like we're going there. But I tell you what, when you get better at getting out of bed, you feel better, like you're like, yeah, I did it. My alarm went off and I got out of bed, and that's exciting. Like you won like right off the bat, because when you don't, it's like, man, like I just failed at getting out of bed.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Don't dwell on it though, people. So, all right, where else can we create excellence? Or where else in our life are we affected if we're not creating excellence?
Everywhere. It will go into everything. Because if you can't, think about it, if you can't even get your butt out of bed when you decide you're going to, like, how are you going to make the big choices in your life?
Well, perhaps I'm the minority, but I think when people look at this word excellence, they tend to think big, lofty, grand goals. I've got to, be on stage, or I've got to make this amount of money, or I've got to feel like that, like all of these very, very big goals in their life. And actuality, like we were just saying, the excellence shows up in every step. So whether it's how you get out of bed, or how you go to bed at night, or how you are thinking. I mean, let's just ponder that, how our lives would be affected if we were excellent in our thought flow. Can you imagine? So rather than, studies have shown 70%, or most humans have negative thoughts 70% or more of the time. So if we are excellent in our thought flow, if we're meticulous about what we're thinking, if we're excellent in our words, what is coming out of our mouth? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it gossip? Is it attacking our own self? What are we creating with our words and our thoughts? Our reality is going to shift if what we're thinking and speaking is excellent.
Absolutely. Is that true? 70% negativity?
Thoughts, yes.
Jeez.
I know.
I didn't realize that.
Well, look at I could go off, but look at the media, look at the shows, look at just a whole bunch of stuff that we're putting into our realm. If that goes in, chances are some of it's going to come out.
Yep. I guess I just never realized the magnitude.
So I'll bring it back to this little story. Ever since you said, hey, Gizmo, we're going to talk about excellence, I had this flashback to a flute lesson. I was in grad school and my teacher was Murray Panitz, who was just one of the most beautiful, amazing flutists. He was principal of Philadelphia Orchestra. And I specifically was like, I went to study with him because I would go to the orchestra every week and listen to him, play. So I remember this one lesson, and we were studying a concerto by Nielsen. It's a Nielsen concerto for flute. And I was like, I'm going to rock this. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to play it. It's going to be so awesome. And we spent an hour on probably 8 notes. 8 notes. 1 hour. And he'd be like, do it again. Do it again. Your vibrato is stopping between this note and that note. I was pulling out my hair. I couldn't figure out what is he doing? I just freaking want to play this concerto. But then having the depth and the discipline and the diligence and the attention of 8 notes, then I had this muscle built. Well, let's look at the next 8 notes. Well, let's start to put the sections together. So if we use that as how we're doing these smaller things in our life to paint and play the big concerto of our life, then that performance of life is so much better and elevated.
Damn. That's beautiful. Yeah. Wait, wow. I'm a little awestruck. A little starstruck too. But one of my thoughts around that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know my experience of that, but I'm curious about yours, is once you really went through that process with those 8 notes.
Yes.
Everything that came after that was not only affected positively, but also it all started to flow more easily. Is that correct?
Completely. Yeah. Totally. I mean, think about the concentration needed to play 8 notes over and over again for an hour and do them each a different way. You drop into a state and a diligence and a discipline, and the ear improves, right? So for a musician, being able to hear exactly what you're doing and what needs to be better is essential. So for us, looking at what is around us, what are we manifesting? If you've been listening to us, we talk a lot about manifesting and higher self manifesting. Everything in front of us is due to our frequency, which is due to our choices. So we want to have an excellent frequency. We want to make excellent choices at every single level, and it's almost like let it be fun. It's a lot more exciting to think, so I could actually create excellence today rather than study or work for 5 or 10 years and reach this big goal. Absolutely. It can happen right here and right now today, and then tomorrow and the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. But the part that I really want to highlight is how you didn't do it by saying I'm going to be awesome at this whole piece. You started with
well, he did. I started with, I'm going to be awesome at this whole piece. And he put me right in my place.
Right. You learned, but he learned, you'd learned from that. And I'm sure that's something you took with you. But you go, a lot of people just go broad, I'm going to be awesome at life. Right. But they miss that real true sense of meticulous excellence when you don't just really narrow it down to something so incredibly specific.
Right. We see this studying at the Vedanta Academy, how many times where, and this is how Swami Parthasarathy teaches, take the Vedanta treatise and read 1 paragraph in the morning between 4 and 6 a.m. and contemplate that. That is not digesting the entire text or even a chapter or a page. It's 1 paragraph. Become excellent at reading 1 paragraph.
Well, notice how your mind wanders just reading 1 paragraph.
Just 1 paragraph.
To just take it in correctly, right? Your mind wanders from sentence to sentence. It's ridiculous. Right. And that's that kind of meticulousness. And now we always wind up talking about him.
I know.
But I hope people don't get bored with it. But I don't know.
Pretty sure not. There's no way to get bored with him.
But he's so when you look in his room, all the books are perfectly aligned.
Right.
You look in his closet, all of his little doties are like all lined up, perfectly folded.
Every area.
Everything is just meticulous. And that to me is just like such a model. And I think if you try to go for that right off the bat,
it'll be frustrating.
Yeah, you'll get frustrated and disappointed with yourself, which kind of brings us into the next, I think one of the biggest challenges that people run into is comparison.
Oh, yeah.
So if you compare yourself to that and try to go do that the same way, you probably get frustrated and disappointed, and you'll probably judge yourself and all sorts of things. But if you just pick one area, like one specific thing that you're going to be awesome at, and just go be awesome at that,
you'll feel so great.
You're
so
good.
Accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right. Don't compare. Run your own race. Comparing, whether you're building a business, whether you're raising a family, whatever you're doing, when you start looking outside, it becomes so entangled and such a mess. And the fact is, we never really know what's going on elsewhere. We only know what's going on here, and this is our gig, and this is our responsibility.
Yeah. There's, especially in our world today, there's the surface that everybody sees, and then there's what's actually going on.
On Facebook, I just made a client $1 billion. Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. That's great. But you can apply it in anything. But what I find is that, like, that's probably the biggest killer to it, is when you get stuck in comparison.
Yes.
Is it's so easy to stop then. You're just so easy to throw up your arms, just say, screw it.
The other thing is, if we are desiring to be excellent at something, creating something, and it doesn't go how we think it's going to. Has anyone out there noticed that? It's like we have a project, we have a plan, maybe we're whatever, new relationship, a business, something, and all of a sudden it like takes a right turn where we thought we were going to go left. And I know I can speak from my own personal experience. This is where oftentimes I would have stopped. Well, it's not working. It's not going like I saw it. I failed. I got to stop. But in reality, that is about breaking out of the box of what we think it's going to be and staying super open, super receptive. One of our mentors, Siobhan Moran, always talked about that: super receptive, and just open to the potentiality of how this will look. And if there's a bump, I mean, life has bumps in the road. Every problem is driven by its unfolding solution. So becoming excellent is being able to pause, inquire again, and find the solution to the problem at hand. That in itself is a piece of excellence.
And just knowing that if you have the problem, you already have the solution.
The solution is there.
Yeah.
You're required to keep looking and taking action.
Yeah, it's tough for the brain to wrap around that, but that's I've found that to be a fundamental.
It's a universal law of truth.
Yeah, it's a universal law. Is that
it is law of duality. If there's a problem, there's a solution. There's darkness, there's light.
Yeah. And just in a philosophical sense, that makes sense, but you can actually prove it scientifically too. If you have a problem, or the solution is already there.
The inverse, yeah.
So play around with that one. What else? When we talk about excellence, what do you feel like are some of the other blockers?
Well,
like
definitely, the comparison, when it doesn't go like we think, when it doesn't feel good. We really want things to feel good in this life. We want it fast. Perhaps the excellence is being layered and layered and layered. That's why we're so big at take a small thing and become excellent at that. And when you're really in flow with that, what's the next piece of your life? So possibly, like Nick was talking about a few weeks ago, he wanted to be excellent at communication. That's an amazing thing to be excellent at. What's going to need to happen? Well, for one thing, most of us will need to slow down and listen to what we are actually saying.
Yep.
We'll need to understand and learn how to formulate a question effectively so that if we're asking a question, the other person or persons understand what the question is. And listen, right? Communication is receiving and giving. So there's layers to that. So maybe the first step is I'm going to learn how to ask a question.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Yeah. I'm going to learn how to ask a good question. One of the things that I'm kind of especially mindful of right now is economy. So it's like saying what I need to say
Right.
in just as few words as possible.
Finishing sentences. How many times, do I open a loop and then I'm like, oh, wait, there's another thought. And I never close that. I have not finished that sentence.
Yeah.
That's painful to be around. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just, there's a lot, like a lot of things come out,
Right.
and I totally get like sometimes you just need to just talk, and that's cool. Like talk it on out, Gizmo.
Being excellent at how we treat ourselves. And that is like Nick talked, you talked about the physical challenge. What about emotionally? What about honestly being in the present moment and seeing the celebrations and the wins and things that are going right and things that we've done beautifully and all the positive attributes about ourselves, rather than beating ourselves up and eliminating self-love and creating shame and guilt and all these low vibratory emotions that will never serve us. So be excellent in how you perceive and treat yourself on all levels.
See, I see that one as not really one to focus on, but as more of like a result.
Like a residue of having excellence elsewhere.
Yeah, what am I trying to say? Like, because I'm a firm believer of like action. Like go do the thing, like decide what you're going to go and do it, go do it. And then all the other stuff comes up through that process.
Right.
So like for me, I'm going to do a 30-day challenge. And another one, well, I don't think we talked about this earlier, is up at 4:30 every day. So I'm that one's for a week.
I
I'm
have not committed to that. I'm going to do 5:30.
It's challenging. And I know it's the best time of day. Throughout my life, I've had a really hard time doing that consistently, and I've decided that I'm going to do it for a week. So to me, that's the thing. That's the action. And so I lead with the action and decide what I'm going to do. And then throughout that, all the other stuff will come up. So if I don't do it, and then I start to get into blame and shame, no problem. Like I can solve that, right? And I can really look at that. But it really comes through the action first of like, I'm making that commitment. I'm going to do this. And then the mental, emotional stuff are things that get cleaned up in the process of moving towards that goal. So I think, and the reason I bring it up, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying this is my way. But I think when people go for like excellence in thoughts or excellence in emotion, and things like that, that less tangible stuff, it's harder to put a bead on. Right. Of like, because your mind just kind of slips into negativity. Right. It slips into the future or the past. Like you don't really notice it until you're there, and then you notice it, and then you're back in the present. Right. So those things can be a little more challenging. That I like to lead with the action. Yeah. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a new commitment to myself to like up level this part of my life. And here's my plan. Like for me, 30-day challenge, going to up my physical strength and endurance and stamina, energetic resiliency, and basically just my ability to commit and follow through.
Love it.
So when I lead with that, I don't know actually, but I have a feeling that a few things may come up and I'll solve those on the fly.
Yeah. Don't assume. You never know. So before we go on to the question of the week, here's what I'd love for everyone out there listening. Choose one place in your life where you want to create excellence and you choose to create excellence this week. I'd love to hear from you. You can shoot us an email, info@sourcemovement.com. Tell us what it is. And Nick, what are some of the tips you would give everyone out there as they embark on this creating excellence in one area of their life?
He has a different conversation about it, but there's a book out there called The One Thing.
Oh, right.
I think it's Gary Keller.
The One Thing is great.
Yeah. So he has a little bit of a different spin on it, but if you're interested in kind of diving into that, I thought that book was awesome. It was really good as far as kind of like, I can't remember what he calls
it. It's like the first 2 chapters are great.
Yeah, there's a question that he asks that's basically like,
well, what's the one thing that you could do that if you did this at a level of, let's use the word excellence, everything else in your life would start to flow and fall into place?
Yeah, that's not exactly his words, but I like the way you put it better even. But that's in that first part of that book. So go check out that book because it's really good.
But what about, if they're taking action, they're like, oh, I'm frustrated. It's not working.
Yeah. Ooh, what to do? I know that feeling. Well, look, first thing is get out of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So you're either comparing yourself to where you should be,
Mm-hmm.
or you're comparing yourself to where somebody else is, and getting into that whole game. So just take that out of it. Like, you really and truly have to run your own race and just be true to you, you know, and what's excellent for you at this point and stage for you, and whatever that thing is that you're trying to be excellent at. There's always going to be somebody better, and there's always going to be somebody worse.
And who cares?
And who cares, right? So just run your own race and stay out of comparison.
Present to the present moment.
Yep, that's it. Second is definitely like single pointed focus.
Yes.
Just decide on that. Don't decide on like 5 different things. Really and truly just pick one thing, you know? It doesn't have to be a forever thing. Like, if you need to get awesome at getting out of bed, get awesome at getting out of bed, you know?
Right.
And it might take you a week to get into that flow, or it might take you a month. But stick to that single pointed focus until you really feel like, I got this, it's in the flow.
Right.
You know, and then don't linger there, move on to the next thing. All right, well, what's next? What's the next thing that's really going to have a huge impact on every other area of my life that I can improve and just really focus on, just really become excellent at? So that single pointed focus of staying the course is so important.
Yeah.
And
Gives me the chills.
that's probably where I see most people fail, is just they stop. You know, or like, oh, that's good enough. You know,
don't stop.
Don't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go back
Email
to our
me.
episode.
Yeah, I'll give you a little butt kick and move forward kind of thing.
Yeah. Saying yes.
Yeah. Say yes.
Yeah. Say yes. Like, that's we did an episode on that. And that's like that kind of concept is just like, keep saying yes to it. I can do this. I can do this, stay in it. Because you think about, like, for you, like, you know, where would your flute career be if you didn't
do those 8 notes?
Right. You know, or you,
absolutely.
You know, if you didn't have that single pointed focus of, I'm going to truly master this instrument.
Right.
You know,
hours and hours every day. And here's the cool thing, everyone. It won't take you hours and hours every day like it took me to be a really great flute player.
Did you ever feel like you mastered the flute?
Here's an interesting thing. When I really felt like I was excellent, and I'm going to share this because I believe it will help many listeners. When I really believed that I was excellent and mastered it is when I didn't care what other people thought, because I knew I had done everything I could. I was prepared. I was walking on stage. Either they were going to like it or they weren't. That's okay with me. And that was like a huge, and it made it so much easier to play. And it wasn't about, I don't care how I sound. It was like, I just don't care what they think because I can't please everyone. But I still was very diligent about the practice and preparation. Like, I was completely prepared.
Train of truth on that one.
Yeah. It's a big train of truth.
Screaming on through. What I find interesting about that is that I have to guess because I didn't know you then, but I'll bet in the eyes of many, you were already excellent.
Yes.
But in your own eyes, you weren't.
Exactly.
And that's important.
That is important.
You know? And from there, your growth, I think, is exponential after that point where you just don't care anymore.
Yeah, you just keep going.
Then the sky's the limit at that point, and you're not like fighting this battle of constantly.
Yeah, you'll take risks.
Yeah.
You'll do what you believe to do. Like it's just, yeah. There's freedom in it, right? There's freedom in what we do when we're not constricted by the worry of what other people think. Like, who wants that? Don't worry about what other people think.
Interesting. So the pinnacle moment really is when you decide to not care what anybody else thinks.
To not care. It's just like, yeah, whatever, here I go. And I really got, I watched what were the great performers doing? How were they performing? Like Yo-Yo Ma. I got to play with him a few times. He'd be in the front of the orchestra. I was in the orchestra. I would watch him, and it's like he was just as happy as could be, walking out on stage, no cares, played, and it was fine. Like, you just knew he was giving it his all, and either people were going to love it or they weren't, and there was nothing he could do about that.
It's really cool. Funny. Yeah, you bring that up too. Is when I worked for Detroit Symphony, I saw so many great performers, not only in the orchestra, and the orchestra musicians were phenomenal, but so many just world-class soloists come through. And I was standing there backstage before they went on all the time, Right. So it's so cool.
You can watch them, right?
To just kind of watch how they were. And
right. Who's nervous, who isn't nervous.
Yeah. And what are those little subtle tells of their nervousness?
Right.
Some people just like to joke around just for fun.
Yeah.
Some people are really serious and focused, like Semkov.
Yeah.
Do you remember him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny dude.
He was funny.
Another podcast episode. But
Yes.
that, and then like your insight and your inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me is like point number one, get out of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Point number two is single pointed focus, like stay
Right.
the course.
Mm-hmm.
And then point number three is like constant insight and inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you had some thoughts on that. So
Constant insight and inquiry. Ask and ask and ask. Like, be willing to go deeper and deeper and deeper into what you do. If something isn't working, ask why. Look at yourself. What's the action you could take or you're not taking? Not from a judgment place or beating yourself up, but the deeper we go into something, I believe the more excellent we become, because it creates this foundation. It's like a strength, right? And you're going deeper and deeper and deeper and being willing to look at all places that either need reignited or rebooted or to do over or make a different choice about it. That is excellence.
awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So
Awesome.
let's go be excellent, everyone. But we have a question for this week.
We have two, actually. First one is a little shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a new section of the podcast for everybody. Like I think this is our second or third one, and we're taking questions. Like we love your questions.
Send the questions in, info@sourcemovement.com.
Yeah, like-
and the first question is,
The whole idea behind this is basically just like, this is not just for us to tell you stuff, right? It's for you to think about it and to like really come up with some good questions. Like, don't believe us. Like, really come to your own conclusion based on the information. And one of the best ways to do that is through inquiry, like we were just talking about. So send it on in, and we'll share our thoughts, and hopefully that'll help you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So question number one is just is kind of a quick one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll do a whole podcast episode on this in the future.
Okay.
But basically it's like, hey, do you have any tips for on better relating to people at work and home? So any tips on better relating to people at work and home? So I think we should do a whole episode on this.
That will be a whole episode on relationships. Here's my tip for that. Don't expect people to be different from who they are or what they are.
Yeah, when somebody shows you who they are, like,
that's who they are.
Believe them.
Mm-hmm. Kill them with kindness. It's amazing when we have our buttons pushed and we can let that go. Remember, the clearer we get and the more objective we are, people can be like just screaming up a storm and you'll be like, oh, that's interesting, because we're not taking it, right? When we take the anger or the accusation or whatever, that's on us. And I don't know if this person is facing that, but even when people are a little edgy or funky, like, kill them with kindness. Like, be the person that can walk in and diffuse the room and be able to be present with another human. Even if you're not crazy about them, look at them, ask them questions, be present, and do not assume, right? We talked about this last week.
Yeah. So, don't assume anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. How I think about this to make it easier for me, because I love things being simple, is basically every time I meet somebody, it could be somebody I've known for years, it could be somebody I'm just meeting, I just imagine that I'm meeting them for the first time.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
So it drops the expectations, and it drops also the assumptions that I make about who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have just had a conversation with that person in the morning, and now it's the afternoon. I'm basically going to kind of meet that person as a new human.
Yeah. That's great.
And it's not to say that like we were having a conversation that we're coming back to in business that, I'm just like, oh, and what were we talking about? You take that with you, but you just imagine that human, like, you've never met them before.
Right.
It works. I've just found that to make things so much easier. And I ask better questions. I get more specific with my questions, because what you find is that you actually assume a lot of things that'll get you into trouble.
Right.
So when you just imagine that brand new human, I
love that.
Yeah, you'll inquire more, which is awesome. That's that over communication.
Yeah.
So that's that one. And then I think we'll expand into a whole podcast.
Yes.
I think that'd be important.
Relationships. Yeah. What's our second question?
Second question. Let me pull it up here. I really enjoyed your Extreme Enlightenment podcast. It's a popular one.
Oh, yeah.
I find myself caught in all the traps you mentioned. I have a yoga studio, and I'm also starting a diabetes self-management program. It's awesome. Go you. I find myself being pulled in so many directions and feel anxious as a result. I also have a full-time job. So my question is, when do you know the right time to take the leap? I'm trying to work on my vision. Powerful podcast. Thanks for reading. Thanks for sharing. So
Thoughts?
Well, I can tell you how to not do it.
How's that?
Just don't have a plan. Don't do your numbers, and then just get pissed off enough with your situation that you just decide to say screw it and quit and go quit.
That doesn't sound good.
It
does not sound good.
It didn't end well. Don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I got depressed and just all kinds of things. It was a rough time. But that's what I did, and I think a lot of people do that. They get to a certain point with things where it just becomes untenable, and then they have to make these massive changes and shifts in order to feel like they're living their dream, or in order to feel like they're taking a powerful action or whatever. And it's usually like 99 times out of 100 or more, that is like totally unnecessary.
And so think about it. For those of you that have children, did it ever feel like the right time to have a kid? Like completely the right time? There's always that nervousness. So I think, Nick, you and I were talking about this earlier. It's oftentimes it never feels like the right time, but let's go back to the conversation we had today. If we are being excellent in managing our life, we'll be able to navigate. So the current situations won't become disastrous because we'll have objectivity, we'll have self-sufficiency, we'll be able to navigate relationships, and then we can create a vision and then move forward with that in a timeline that makes sense and keep taking action.
Yeah. Vision is another one of those things that gets real hazy, right? And really intangible. So in that vision, keep it simple and make sure there's tangible things in there.
Yes.
You got to know your numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers are really, really important. That's something I don't know if this person is experiencing this, but it's something I've seen a lot certainly something I've gone through is just not knowing your numbers. So when you're looking to make a leap like that, you need to know the exact amount of money that you need to make in order to make that leap, in order to let go of that job.
Right. Or to have enough money stashed up and a timeline of, okay, I'm going to live on savings, but I'm implementing immediately to make some money.
Yeah. And go. And then what I would say too is like get help.
Yes.
Like
mentorship, support
is so important. And unless you have an experienced business owner in your family, and even then it can get really sticky. It's best if you can like hire some help.
Right.
Look for somebody who's done exactly what you want to do and see how you can utilize their knowledge and resources to your benefit.
Right.
And what I've found is that most people are really, really willing to share and support. But there's something really special that happens when you invest in that. Like most business owners, like they want to like quit my job and I want to start a business, and they're just going to go for it.
Yeah.
But they've never been to business school, right? Which is fine. Like I've never been to business school, but you invest in your education in other ways.
Right.
And I think that's a really important piece, to make sure that you have the support around you. So I don't. If they're around, I'm not hearing it as much these days of the like, follow your dream, quit your job. Like you have to do that and devote all your stuff to that. Like don't do that, because you're going to mess up your money. And when you mess up your money, you mess up a lot of things in your life.
Well, not just that, you're looking at the external still. Like here's the takeaway, everyone. You are your dream. You are your dream. And if you keep looking at the external for your dream, it's going to be a long run. You can always create magnificence and excellence and fun and exciting things in the external, but you are your dream.
Bam.
I think that's...
Kisma's taking it down with that one. It's like
hashtag you are your dream.
You are your dream. That's a mic drop right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And know your numbers.
Yes.
Really important. And then from there, you can make intelligent decisions. And one last thing I'd offer on that is like set a timeline. Set a timeline for yourself. If you want to be done in 6 months, set that date.
Right.
And set that intention, set a clear manifestation in motion, and start running.
I love it.
Right? Because then you've got the clarity around it that you can start to really, things can start to show up in a new way.
Got it. So. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. So any questions, info@sourcemovement.com. Let us hear about what you choose to be excellent in this coming week. And if you're interested in the challenge, dive on in. We're here. We love you madly. And thank you so much.
Namaste.
Namaste.